I moved my family to Spain thinking the differences would be obvious. The food, the architecture, the language, the Mediterranean lifestyle. And yeah, all of that is real and it's amazing. But after a year of being abroad and now living in Valencia, Spain, the things that are actually getting me are much smaller than that. Normal life here just feels more shared. For example, kids are playing football in the plazas, families are out later, older people are sitting on the benches, and people are having coffee outside, and it's like being around each other is just a normal part of the day. And I didn't realize how separated American life felt until I wasn't living inside of it anymore. And I'm not saying Spain is perfect. Nowhere is. Life is still happening here. I'm working, I'm taking care of my family. There's still the normal obligations. But there are these small everyday things here that keep making me stop and think, you know, maybe normal life doesn't have to feel as boxed in as I thought. My name is Andrew, and I'm a Filipino-American dad of 3 living in Valencia, Spain with my wife and kids. And this video is basically about the small everyday things here that are changing what normal family life feels like to me. Before moving here, I don't think I would have described American daily life as separated. You know, that would have sounded dramatic. But now that I've been outside it for a little while now, I can see it a lot more clearly. Before, normal life was split up. Kids were in one place, adults were in another, older people were somewhere else. You leave the house, you get in the car, go inside to the store or wherever you're going, you get back into the car, drive home, get inside, and then you do it all over again. I mean, even simple errands felt like a mission. And I know that sounds normal because it was normal to me. If we needed 1 or 2 things, it meant getting everybody ready. There was this huge process. And there still is a process, especially with 3 kids, but when you throw a car into the mix, you have to make sure everybody has what they need. You're loading everybody up. My kids had tablets back home, so they would have their tablets in the car. We don't do that anymore. And then you go in the store, you load everybody back up into the car, and then you drive back home. And then after that, we were wiped out. And this felt the exact same way when I came to meeting up with friends or family. Sometimes staying home just felt like the easier option. And I used to think I was just a homebody. You know, I kind of am. I'm still me. And it's not like Spain made me an extrovert in any way. But Spain did make me realize something. It wasn't that going out was the problem. It was that it just had way too many steps attached to it. And then we moved to Valencia, and normal daily life started looking different. Now we're walking to get groceries. We're passing multiple cafes as people are just outside enjoying their day. We're seeing little kids out and about just playing, and their parents are nearby, but they're not like hovering over them every second. And then you see the older people walking through, whether it's the kids, abuelas or abuelos, and it's like everybody is just part of the same rhythm of the city. There's this sense of community that we were missing back home. Also, seeing families out later was crazy to my American brain. Dogs were everywhere. You see someone else walking home from their local panaderia carrying their bread, and someone else carrying pushing the cart from getting groceries. And it all just feels like normal life is just happening in the open. And seeing that for the very first time was a shock. It was a culture shock. But there was that sense of welcome, sense of warmth that came along with it. Even a year later, I still love seeing it. And it's not just that Valencia is pretty. It's the small things that come with it. It's that daily life feels a lot more visible, and people have that sense of belonging, like we're all in this together. And I know that if you grew up here, you might not even think about it. It feels completely normal to you. But as an American dad, it felt completely different and new. Like noticing the kids outside, just seeing people everywhere. And it's not like people need a huge reason to be outside. And after a while, that starts to change how you think about your own life. So this hit me differently because I'm not experiencing Spain as a tourist. I'm experiencing it as a dad. I'm watching my kids grow up around a different version of normal. And as a parent, that means a lot. Because it's one thing telling your kids about something and teaching them in that way, but them experiencing it in daily life, that changes a lot. And before moving here, I just accepted that family life required a lot of management. For example, you're getting everybody ready, you're getting in the car, you're planning an outing, you're scanning the environment around you, you know, with that underlying fear and anxiety as a parent. The parent scan is what we're going to call it. And then through the whole time, even though you're trying to enjoy the outing, you still have that sense of anxiety, even if it's very small. And that can impact you. It makes a difference. And of course, parenting is always work. It's not like Spain just magically makes parenting easy. But you do get that sense of relief here that you don't get in the US. You get that feeling of safety like you don't get back home. And you don't realize what you're missing and how much lighter you can feel and how much of that weight that you were carrying before until you're not carrying it anymore. I mean, the second you step out of your apartment, you're already seeing kids, families, people everywhere, cafes, restaurants. Life is already happening in front of you before you even plan anything. And that changes things. And that matters a lot to me as a parent because I don't want my kids to just visit and experience nice places. I also want them to be a part of it. And that's what I keep seeing and feeling here. It's like the city just has room for families. You know, it's not everywhere or every single moment, but it is enough for me to notice it. So one of the moments where I really noticed a difference was taking the kids to a fair one night. And I remember thinking, and I looked at my wife, we both were like, yeah, we never would have done this back home, not at this time, not in a big crowd. And I'm not saying bad things don't happen in Spain, nobody is perfect, but there was a sense of that feeling of safety and like a big weight that was lifted off our shoulders that we didn't realize we were holding on to for so long. And obviously we were still paying attention to our kids, right? Especially with 3 little ones, you got to pay attention. But it was a different feeling. We weren't having to hover over them every single second. And the big thing was just that sense of safety. Like we weren't scanning the crowds like we did before. I wasn't looking for the exits, and I didn't have the feeling of, hey, is everything going to be okay here? You know, that background tension of the fear and anxiety that is in my head, that was looming, that slowly started to disappear. And that was a big change. And that's been one of the weirdest parts of moving abroad, is that background tension, that background weight. You don't realize how much of it that you're carrying and how heavy it is until you're not carrying it anymore. So, yeah. So football here in Spain made this really obvious to me too. I didn't grow up watching football or anything, so I'm not gonna pretend like I know how everything works, but when I was watching Spain win inside a packed bar here in Valencia, it made me realize how it unites people here. That is part of the culture. People were screaming and yelling and cheering and giving each other a high five, all watching the same screen together in unison, and then walking home after that, hearing cars honking their horns, everybody, waving their flags. It was a special moment. It's like just for those few hours, the whole city feels like it's connected. And like I said, life just here feels more visible, more shared, more public. And that's one of the things that I keep noticing over and over again. That's something that I'm not used to, but I love. So there's this word that people keep commenting on my videos, Tranquilidad. And that's one of the words that I've been trying to explain. It doesn't mean nothing bad happens. It doesn't mean life is easy. It doesn't mean Spain is this perfect place where nobody has problems, but there is a calmer feeling being in this city that I didn't realize I was missing. So I want to be careful with this part because I don't want people watching this and feeling like, oh, Europe is this paradise and I'm romanticizing it and America is this terrible place, because that's not what this is. For example, the paperwork here alone could be its own video. But living here has definitely made me question what I used to accept as normal. So that's what this is for me. It's not trying to prove that one place is better in every way, but it is noticing that daily life can be designed differently. Family life can be different. Public space can feel different. Childhood can feel different. And once you experience that, it's hard not to compare it. So originally I thought moving abroad would just change where I lived, right? Like my location. But it's done a lot more than that. It's changing what I notice. And the longer that we're here, I'm realizing that quality of life, it's not this huge dramatic thing. Sometimes it's just seeing kids playing outside, seeing families together, older people sitting on their benches, seeing people have their coffee and drinks, and just seeing normal life happening all around you. And that's the stuff that that I definitely won't get tired of seeing and noticing. And I think that's one of the biggest things that Spain has changed for me so far, and my family. It's not just where we live, location-wise, but it's also just feeling and experiencing what a new normal can be. And if this stuff interests you, I'm gonna keep making videos about family life abroad, Spain through American eyes, and just all the American defaults that I'm still unlearning. So I'll see you soon.